Hello friends. If you were born on February 27th, you're not just any Pisces. You're a Pisces with mystery in your bones, magic in your voice, and stardust in your soul. You walk through life like a dreamer who somehow always manages to find the real truth hiding behind illusions. But what does this date really say about you? Today, we're diving deep, like Neptune deep, into everything your birth date reveals about love, marriage, sex, friendship, business, your elemental and spiritual alignments, and even your numerological destiny. We're going to explore astrology not just from the Western lens, but through the wisdom of the Druids, the Vedas, nature-based flower horoscopes, stones, and numbers that resonate with your energy. Buckle up, old soul. Your cosmic report is here. Western astrology, the dreaming healer. February 27th marks a unique alignment in Western astrology, a date where the ethereal sign of Pisces reaches an especially potent form. Governed by Neptune, the planet of dreams, illusion, empathy, and spiritual transcendence, Pisces is already considered the mystic of the Zodiac. But those born on February 27th carry a layered frequency, more intuitive, more mysterious, and more spiritually attuned than the average fish. These aren't just the dreamers of the Zodiac. They are channels of emotion, of energy, of otherworldly insight. Everything about a February 27th Pisces is subtle but profound. They may come across as calm, gentle, and perhaps a little shy. But don't mistake their softness for passivity. These individuals feel on a level most people will never experience, and they've felt this way since childhood. They remember the moods of rooms, the emotional residue of past arguments, and can walk past a stranger and intuit a secret heartbreak. This is not learned behavior. It's innate. It's what makes them healers, artists, and sometimes even psychics, although many never openly name their gifts. What sets this birthday apart is the layering of emotional sensitivity with a quiet inner power. The number 27 in numerology connects to the master number 9 2 plus 7, symbolizing wisdom, endings, and spiritual compassion. Combined with Pisces' already deeply empathetic nature, the February 27th born are people who carry karmic weight. They've lived many emotional lives, whether in this lifetime or others, and it shows in the way they listen, observe, and quietly influence the world around them. Often, they don't even try to lead, and yet people follow. The influence of Neptune makes these individuals particularly susceptible to the unseen, dreams, symbols, metaphors, and emotions that don't have names. Many have vivid, prophetic dreams or moments of just knowing that later prove true. These are the people who will say, "I had a weird feeling about that," and 9 times out of 10, they're right. But they're not interested in ego or showing off their intuition. Their power comes from humility, the kind that whispers rather than shouts, that chooses depth over display. Emotionally, they exist on multiple planes. There is the emotion they show to the world, usually calm, kind, and gentle, and then there is the inner ocean, roiling with sensitivity, longing, grief, ecstasy, and empathy. Many February 27th born people retreat into music, art, nature, or silence to process what they feel, because words often fall short. For them, expressing what's inside can feel like trying to explain a dream with only half the vocabulary. It's not that they can't express themselves, it's that their internal world is so much bigger than language. Their challenge in life is to learn how to protect their energetic field. These Pisces can pick up negativity without realizing it, and carry it like it's their own. If a friend is sad, they'll feel that sadness in their body. If their partner is stressed, they'll take it on like a sponge. This is why boundaries are not just important for February 27th individuals, they are essential. Without energetic filters and clear emotional limits, they risk burnout, confusion, or even emotional entanglements that are difficult to escape. They're often attracted to mysticism, not necessarily in a religious sense, but in a personal one. Meditation, crystals, astrology, tarot, music, lucid dreaming, all these realms feel natural, even if they weren't taught to them. They may have a rich inner world full of symbolism, signs, and spiritual impressions they rarely share. And when they do share, it's usually with people who have proven themselves emotionally safe. February 27th Pisces don't let just anyone into their private world, it's sacred space. Their greatest strengths lie in their emotional intelligence, their imagination, and their willingness to feel it all. In a world that often values logic over intuition, performance over presence, and quick fixes over healing, these individuals bring depth, patience, and soul. They remind us that the invisible matters, that dreams have power, and that emotional truth can be just as real as any data point. But with that power comes a tendency to idealize. Whether it's people, relationships, or life itself, February 27th Pisces are prone to seeing not what is, but what could be. This visionary gift can lead them to create profound beauty, but also to heartbreak when reality doesn't meet their expectations. Their life lesson is to blend their spiritual ideals with grounded wisdom, to dream with their feet on the earth. To sum it up, February 27th is a birth date blessed with intuitive brilliance, creative genius, and emotional depth. These Pisces are here to gently transform the world, not with force, but with love, art, empathy, and the unshakable belief that there's more to life than meets the eye. Love romance. When a February 27th Pisces falls in love, it's not a fling, it's an event. A spiritual collision, a surrender. These people don't enter relationships casually, they seek profound emotional resonance. Love, for them, is a sacred merging, not just of bodies or emotions, but of souls. They want to feel known, in the quietest parts of their being, and they want to know their partner on that same level. It's never just romance with them, it's a form of awakening. They're drawn to emotional depth and authenticity, not surface charm. Someone can be beautiful, wealthy, or exciting, but if there's no emotional transparency, no spiritual chemistry, a February 27th Pisces will drift away, often without saying a word. Conversely, someone vulnerable, artistic, or emotionally open can sweep them off their feet, even if they seem flawed. That's because these Pisces often fall in love with potential. They see the soul beneath the scars, the story behind the sadness, and they believe in who someone could become. But therein lies the risk. One of the greatest challenges for this birthday is discerning between love and emotional rescue. Because they're so naturally compassionate, February 27th Pisces often find themselves in relationships with wounded or troubled partners, people who are emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or even manipulative. And because these Pisces want to heal, they give, and give, and give. Sometimes until there's nothing left of them. The antidote is conscious self-worth. When they remember that love is not about sacrifice, but mutual nourishment, they can transform their patterns. The healthiest relationships for a February 27th Pisces are with partners who can match their depth, honor their softness, and walk beside them with equal emotional awareness. They need someone who is grounded, honest, and willing to explore the inner world without fear or judgment. In love, they are poetic, the type to write letters, leave thoughtful gifts, or remember tiny details you thought they'd forgotten. They value emotional intimacy above physical, but when both align, they can become utterly devoted. Touch becomes language, eye contact becomes communion. They want to know their partner's fears, childhood wounds, secret dreams, and they want their partner to hold space for theirs in return. Their most compatible matches are usually water and earth signs. Scorpio offers a soul-deep connection and unspoken understanding. Both signs operate on emotional frequencies that are intuitive and passionate. Cancer, another water sign, provides nurturing, emotional safety, and shared values. Taurus brings sensuality and grounding, a balance to Pisces' fluidity, while Capricorn can offer stability, quiet devotion, and a deep emotional core that's revealed over time. More challenging matches tend to be with air and fire signs. Gemini, while mentally stimulating, can feel too inconsistent or emotionally detached. The Gemini tendency to intellectualize can clash with Pisces' emotional immersion. Leo can be too self-centered or performative, overwhelming the sensitive Pisces with their need for attention and spotlight. However, if there's enough mutual respect and effort, even these matches can evolve, but they require more compromise. Pisces born on February 27th are also extremely romantic, but not in a cliché way. They romanticize moments, not just gestures. A shared laugh during a rainy walk, a handwritten note in a lunchbox, a look across a crowded room that says, "I see you." These are the things that make them feel loved. But they're also prone to yearning, long-distance loves, unrequited feelings, memories that haunt them for years. They don't move on the way others do, because to a February 27th Pisces, love imprints. Every love story becomes part of their emotional tapestry, woven into their poetry, their dreams, their very being. They don't just love people, they carry them. To love a February 27th Pisces is to accept that you're not just entering a relationship, you're stepping into a dreamscape. One where emotion is currency, tenderness is sacred, and love is the highest form of art. For the right partner, it's heaven. For the wrong one, it's a mirror they may not be ready to face. And for the Pisces themselves, it's always real, always deep, and always unforgettable. Marriage. To a February 27th Pisces, marriage is far more than a contract or social milestone. It is a sacred, almost cosmic bond. When you say, "I do," what you really mean is, "I surrender to this journey with you," heart, soul, spirit, and all the invisible parts in between. You're not interested in superficial promises or Instagram perfect moments. You're in it for the merging. Emotional, spiritual, often even psychic. You want to dissolve the boundary between self and partner, not to lose yourself, but to expand yourself through the connection. You want to be woven into someone else's emotional landscape and let them into yours, completely and without filter. This deep yearning for unity makes you one of the most devoted spouses in the Zodiac. You remember every little milestone, every special moment. You write love notes when no one asks, buy gifts, just because, and are incredibly in tune with your partner's emotional needs. You care, not performatively, but profoundly. Marriage to you is a living, breathing commitment that must be nurtured like a delicate garden. You don't take it lightly, and when you're in, you're all in. But this very depth can also be your vulnerability. Because your love runs so deep, you can endure a great deal of emotional discomfort without speaking up. You may quietly suffer, thinking your pain is the price of loyalty. You tell yourself, this is just a phase, or, they'll change, or worse, maybe it's my fault. You may even stay long after the connection has emotionally eroded, simply because your idea of commitment is so sacred that leaving feels like spiritual failure. This is why the quality of emotional connection in your marriage matters more than anything else. You need to be with someone who doesn't just say, "I love you," but shows it in soft, daily acts of presence, understanding, and mutual care. You need someone who's emotionally fluent, someone who can read the shifts in your tone, who senses when you need space and when you need arms wrapped around you. Someone who understands that your silences aren't disinterest, they're reflection, processing, depth unfolding in quiet. A successful marriage for you is one where emotional closeness is constant, where vulnerability feels safe, and where you're seen, not just for what you do, but for who you are. You need a partner who understands that your inner world is vast, rich, and sensitive. Someone who can be a safe harbor when life feels too loud. Someone who doesn't try to fix your moods but simply sits with you in them. That kind of presence is everything. Conflict in marriage, for you, must be navigated gently. You don't respond well to harshness or aggressive confrontation. If your partner yells, shuts down emotionally, or uses logic to override feeling, you will retreat. Not physically, emotionally. You'll close off, drifting into a lonely internal sea, smiling on the surface while dying inside. Over time, this emotional detachment can grow so quiet and subtle that even you may not realize you've checked out, until it's too late. This is why communication, not just surface-level talking, but soul-deep dialogue, is your lifeline in marriage. You need a partner who asks not just, "How was your day?" but, "What moved you today? What scared you? What made you feel alive?" These conversations feed your spirit. They bring you closer. Without them, marriage becomes a shell, and you, the dreamer, the feeler, begin to wither from within. Ultimately, for a February 27th Pisces, marriage is about emotional homecoming. You want to look at your partner across the dinner table, across decades, and still feel like you've found your safest place on earth. You want love that evolves, that deepens, that grows quieter and wiser with time. You want forever, but only if it's real, soulful, and full of shared meaning. Your ideal marriage partner is someone who knows how to hold emotional space. Someone who listens more than they lecture. Someone who finds your complexity beautiful rather than inconvenient. They don't have to be perfect, they just have to be present. Gentle communication, emotional literacy, and the ability to navigate your storms without trying to steer your ship. These are the traits that will make your marriage not just last, but thrive. Sex intimacy. For you, sex is never just about skin. It's about soul. It's about safety. It's about slipping into another person's energy field and letting the physical become a gateway to something far more expansive. You don't crave lust in the rawest sense, you crave sacred merging. You want a partner who doesn't just touch your body but understands the language of your breath, your heartbeat, your hesitations, your sighs. You need emotional foreplay before physical foreplay. A deep conversation, a vulnerable moment, a shared dream. These are the things that turn you on. It's not about wild passion alone, though you're capable of it. It's about trust, resonance, emotional attunement. You want to feel emotionally held before you can fully let go physically. Without that, sex can feel hollow, even disorienting, for you. In bed, you are intuitive to an almost psychic degree. You pick up on micro-signals. The way someone inhales when touched a certain way, the shift in their voice when they're emotionally exposed. You want to please your partner, not out of insecurity, but out of deep empathy. Their pleasure becomes your pleasure. Their vulnerability becomes your invitation to offer safety and love. There's an emotional generosity in how you make love, a sacredness in how present you are. But here's where the danger comes in. Sometimes you give too much. You become so wrapped up in your partner's needs that you forget your own. You may say, yes, when you mean, not yet. You may shape yourself around their preferences, forgetting that your own desires matter just as much. Over time, this imbalance can create quiet resentment or emotional exhaustion, especially if your partner isn't equally tuned into you. That's why boundaries and self-awareness are essential for your sexual well-being. You need a partner who asks, who listens, who checks in with your body language as much as your words. Someone who doesn't just receive your love, but returns it with curiosity, devotion, and a desire to learn what makes you feel open, connected, and safe. Fantasy plays a significant role in your sexual expression. Your imagination is rich and fertile, and sex can be an emotional theater where dreams come alive. You're not afraid of role play, sensory exploration, or creative expression, as long as there's emotional trust underneath it. Music, lighting, textures, scents, all of it matters. You want an experience, not just an act. A moment of transcendence, where time dissolves and the world outside disappears. After sex, you crave closeness. Not just physical, but emotional. Pillow talk, skin to skin, soul to soul. This post-intimacy moment is when you're most open, most raw. If a partner gets up and leaves the room, or emotionally checks out, it can feel like abandonment, even if that wasn't their intention. You need aftercare. You need presence. Because for you, making love is an act of deep emotional exposure, and closing that loop matters just as much as opening it. Ultimately, sex for you is a form of emotional language. A way of saying all the things you don't always have words for. A way of asking, do you see me? Do you feel me? Are we still connected? When the answer is yes, when you're with a partner who understands that intimacy is as much about the spirit as the flesh, you open up in ways that are absolutely unforgettable. And when it's right, it's not just sex, it's healing, it's art, it's magic. Friendship. If you were born on February 27th, friendship is not a casual arrangement, it's a quiet contract of the soul. You don't make friends easily, not because you're unfriendly, but because you take emotional connection seriously. You aren't interested in social convenience or party invites just to pass the time. You seek meaning, depth, truth, If a friendship doesn't offer emotional resonance, it's simply not worth your energy. And when you do let someone in, they're often surprised by just how deeply you care, because it's never halfway with you. You're the kind of friend who knows your best friend's coffee order, their biggest fear, their middle school crush, and the name of their dog who passed away 10 years ago. You remember the details that matter, and you store them like sacred data. You write birthday cards filled with words that hit straight to the heart. You send text messages late at night just to check in when you have a feeling something's wrong, and more often than not, you're right. You pick up on energy shifts without anyone having to say a word. That's your superpower. There's something undeniably healing about your presence. Friends often come to you for comfort, not because you offer perfect solutions, but because you listen deeply, without judgment. You're the emotional anchor, the soft landing place. You're the one who gets the 2 a.m. calls, the teary voice notes, the quiet confessions no one else is trusted with. You're the keeper of secrets, the emotional first responder. You may not always know what to say, but your presence alone makes people feel safe, understood, and less alone in their storm. But this kind of emotional labor comes with a price, and if you're not careful, it can drain you. You absorb other people's pain like a sponge. Even if your friend doesn't say anything, you feel it in their energy, their posture, their eyes. And because you're wired to help, you often take on that pain as if it's yours to solve. This makes you an extraordinary friend, but it can also leave you depleted if the emotional exchange isn't mutual. If you're always giving, always holding space, and rarely receiving the same in return, resentment can quietly build. That's why solitude is vital for you. Alone time isn't just nice, it's non-negotiable. It's how you reset, detox from emotional overload, and reconnect with yourself. Too much social time, even with people you love, can leave you feeling scattered or overstimulated. You need space to breathe, to dream, to be no one's emotional anchor but your own. And the right friends will understand that. They won't take your silences personally. They'll know that when you retreat, it's not rejection, it's restoration. Because of your sensitivity to energy, you're highly selective about who you let into your inner circle. You might be polite and warm with many, but you trust few. You crave authenticity. Friends who are raw, real, and emotionally honest. You can't stand superficiality, gossip, or passive-aggressive behavior. The minute someone shows a lack of integrity, you're gone. Not in a dramatic way, but in that quiet Pisces fade, where you slowly drift away until your absence becomes permanent. The beauty of your friendships lies in their longevity. When you find your people, the ones who get you, who reciprocate your emotional investment, you hold on with everything you've got. These relationships often last for decades. You may not talk every day, but the bond is soul deep. You show up when it counts. You remember anniversaries, painful losses, important milestones. And when life falls apart, your friends don't just hope you'll be there, they know you will. Friendship, to you, is a sacred exchange of emotional truth. It's not about how often you talk or how much fun you have. It's about how seen you feel. You want to sit across from someone and talk about your fears, your dreams, your weirdest thoughts, and you want them to do the same. That's real connection. That's what matters to you. And in return, you offer the kind of friendship that feels like home. A soft place to land. A mirror that reflects your friend's best self, even when they've forgotten who that is. You don't just show up, you hold space. You don't just listen, you hear. And once you've claimed someone as your soul friend, there's no expiration date. Just unconditional presence, empathy, and a love that quietly says, I see you. I've got you, always. Business career. In the realm of career, a February 27th Pisces is rarely motivated by power, money, or titles, though they can succeed in all of these if they align with purpose. What truly fuels you is meaning, impact, emotional fulfillment. You need to feel what you do matters, that it touches lives, inspires people, or heals something broken. If your job lacks soul, you will either quietly rebel or emotionally shut down, and eventually, you'll find yourself drifting away from it altogether. You are both creative and intuitive, which makes you uniquely suited for careers that require imagination, empathy, and insight into the human experience. You have a natural gift for understanding people, not just through what they say, but through what they feel. You can read between the lines, sense unspoken needs, and hold space for emotional truths. This makes you an ideal counselor, therapist, coach, or healer. You can guide people through their darkness not because you have all the answers, but because you're willing to sit with them in it. Artistic expression also runs strong in you. Writing, music, painting, photography, film, any medium that allows you to convey emotion, nuance, and spiritual truth will resonate with your soul. You don't create for applause. You create to connect, to heal, to give voice to things too big or subtle for ordinary language. Your art isn't about ego, it's about empathy. And when you tap into that channel, your work doesn't just entertain. It moves people. Spirituality is another natural calling. You're drawn to the metaphysical, the unseen, the cosmic questions that others shy away from. Whether it's astrology, energy healing, meditation, or sacred teaching, you're capable of guiding others through their own awakening. People feel safe opening up around you because you don't judge, you understand. And you offer insight that feels more like truth remembered than advice given. But structure can be your Achilles heel. Rigid schedules, corporate hierarchies, micromanagement, these are soul killers for you. You need flow, creative autonomy, emotional safety, the ability to dream, reflect, and work in ways that honor your natural rhythm. If forced into a cookie-cutter role or a high-stress, hyper-competitive environment, you'll likely underperform or disengage. Not because you lack talent, but because you can't thrive where your soul feels unseen. You work best in spaces where your imagination is not just tolerated but treasured. Environments that allow for creativity, compassion, and emotional intelligence. Think nonprofit organizations, wellness industries, creative studios, or any field where your soft power becomes your greatest asset. You're a quiet leader, someone who doesn't need to dominate the room, but who influences it by simply being present, thoughtful, and deeply attuned to what matters. And when it comes to collaboration, you shine in partnerships where your vision is heard and respected, but where someone else handles the logistical grit. You're the dreamer, the big picture seer, the emotional compass. Pair yourself with someone organized, detail-oriented, and grounded, and you can build magic together. You don't need to do it all. You just need the freedom to do your part the way only you can. Ultimately, your career success comes down to one thing: alignment. If your work aligns with your values, your creativity, and your emotional truth, you can thrive beyond measure. If it doesn't, no paycheck will ever feel like enough. You are here not to climb ladders, but to build bridges. Not to chase status, but to offer meaning. And the more you honor that, the more the world opens to you. Because when a February 27th Pisces steps into their purpose, the impact is subtle, profound, and lasting, like a quiet wave that shifts the entire tide. Numerology of February 27th. The numerology of February 27th carries a deeply spiritual and karmic weight. When you reduce the digits of your birth date, 2 plus 7, you arrive at 9, the final number in the numerological cycle. And with that number comes the energy of completion, wisdom, and service. People born under the influence of the number 9 often feel like they don't quite belong to this world, not because they're disconnected, but because their soul is already miles ahead in understanding. You, born on this date, are one of those rare old souls walking among the noise and distraction of the modern world with a quiet, inner knowing that there's more to feel, more to learn, more to give. Being a 9 in numerology means you've likely carried forward emotional lessons from previous lifetimes. It's as if you were born with a heart that remembers the love and pain of 100 different lives. Even as a child, you may have found yourself drawn to stories of struggle, sacrifice, or spiritual meaning. Maybe you cried during movies when others didn't, or sensed energy in a room when no one else seemed to notice. This is the quiet power of the 9. It connects you to the emotional frequency of humanity itself. You're not just intuitive, you're tuned in, like a radio that picks up frequencies from invisible realms. But 9 energy is not just about feeling, it's about doing something with those feelings. You're here to serve, to guide, to offer perspective. This doesn't mean you must become a monk or humanitarian, although you could, but it does mean that your life only feels meaningful when it's connected to something bigger than yourself. Whether you're creating art that stirs souls, offering support to those in need, or simply being the person who always listens without judgment, your path is about elevation. You don't chase wealth or power for their own sake. You chase purpose. That being said, life as a 9 isn't always easy. You're often misunderstood, because your motivations are different from the people around you. While others may be chasing status or external validation, you're longing for connection, authenticity, depth. You might find it difficult to explain why certain things matter to you so much, why you cry when a stranger smiles at you, or why you can't stop thinking about a story you heard weeks ago. That's the 9 in you. It doesn't operate on logic. It operates on soul. This energy also gives you an uncanny understanding of endings, not just in relationships or careers, but in cycles, emotions, and patterns. You're a natural at letting go when the time comes, though it's often painful. You don't just say goodbye, you grieve. Whether it's an old version of yourself, a person you once loved, or a dream that no longer fits, you feel every inch of the transition. But each ending for you is also a spiritual rebirth, a clearing, a return to something more aligned. Creativity pulses through your veins. You might write, paint, sing, dance, photograph, or dream in ways that feel otherworldly. But your art isn't just aesthetic. It's emotional communication. You create as a way to process, to heal, to understand. And when others experience your work, whether it's a song, a journal entry, or a gesture, they feel it. That's the gift of the 9, the ability to channel something divine through the human experience. But here's the thing, 9s often carry a strange sadness, a kind of beautiful ache for something just out of reach. You might feel nostalgia for places you've never been, longing for people you haven't met, a soft ache for a world that feels more like home than the one you're in. This melancholy doesn't mean something is wrong. In fact, it means you're awake. You're remembering something your soul once knew. And even in sadness, there is poetry, and you, perhaps more than most, know how to find it. So if you were born on February 27th, and you've ever wondered why you feel so different, why you crave depth while others settle for surface, why you feel pain you can't explain and love without boundaries, know this. Your life is not meant to fit into the mold. It's meant to expand it. You are a vessel of emotional wisdom, a teacher disguised as a dreamer. And your life becomes truly magical when you surrender not to the world's pace, but to your soul's. Druid horoscope, the pine tree. According to the ancient Celtic tree astrology, those born between February 19th and February 29th fall under the influence of the pine tree, and if your birthday is February 27th, this is your sacred botanical totem. Among the Druids, trees were not just plants. They were wise beings, each carrying spiritual significance, character traits, and soul-level lessons. The pine tree, in particular, was known for its beauty, endurance, and quiet depth, traits that align perfectly with the subtle, soulful intensity of your personality. Pine people are mysterious by nature. You often carry an aura of silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you're always observing. You watch the way people move, speak, react, love. You notice the details others miss, the crack in someone's voice, the unspoken sadness behind their laughter. You're the one who sees through the mask, not in a critical way, in a compassionate way. Your perception isn't about judgment, it's about understanding. You tend to be reserved, but not cold. In fact, once people get close to you, they discover a beautifully complex and emotionally rich soul. You are thoughtful, reflective, and profoundly loyal to the people you trust. You don't form bonds easily, but when you do, they are deep-rooted and enduring, just like the pine tree itself, whose roots run long and strong beneath the surface. There is also a quiet persistence in you, a kind of spiritual stamina. You can weather emotional storms without becoming hard. Life doesn't scare you, even when it hurts. Instead of running from discomfort, you absorb it, learn from it, grow stronger. People often assume you're fragile because of your sensitivity, but they're wrong. You're resilient in a way that isn't flashy. Your strength is in your stillness, your ability to bend without breaking. As a pine, you're drawn to beauty, but not just physical beauty. You see beauty in music that makes your chest ache, in poetry that feels like home, in quiet mornings where nothing needs to be said. You need these things like air. They're not luxuries, they're nourishment for your soul. A life without them would feel hollow, no matter how successful it looked on the outside. You detest superficiality in all forms. Whether it's shallow conversation, performative kindness, or relationships that skim the surface, you want no part of it. You seek substance, in people, in art, in purpose. You'd rather sit in silence with someone real than talk for hours with someone who only knows how to wear a mask. This discerning nature can make your social circle smaller, but far more fulfilling. In love, you are deeply devoted. You don't fall easily, but when you do, it's with your whole being. You seek partners who are emotionally present, spiritually aware, and loyal in heart and action. Games and manipulation have no place in your life. You crave peace in relationships, not in the absence of emotion, but in the presence of mutual understanding. Love, for you, is a sacred refuge, not a battlefield. Your connection to nature is also strong. Whether you live in a forest or a city, you likely find peace among trees, water, or open skies. You intuitively know when it's time to retreat, to walk alone, to return to your own rhythms. This grounding instinct keeps you from losing yourself in the chaos of modern life. It's what makes you wise beyond your years, a quiet bearer of balance in an unbalanced world. If you've ever felt like an old soul, like someone born for a different time or deeper world, it's because you are a pine. A living symbol of ancient resilience, quiet beauty, and emotional depth. You don't have to shout to be powerful. You don't have to perform to be seen. Your presence speaks volumes, and those who are meant for you will hear it. They will sit beside you, among the emotional pine needles of your soul, and feel like they've finally come home. Flower horoscope, the mimosa. If your soul had a bloom, it would be the mimosa, delicate, sensitive, and quietly resilient. In the language of floral astrology, the mimosa represents those whose beauty lies not in grandeur or attention-grabbing color, but in nuance, texture, and the way they respond to the world around them. And if you were born on February 27th, this is your floral signature. A life lived with feeling, a heart attuned to subtleties, and a strength that thrives not in resistance, but in emotional awareness. The mimosa is known for its gentle leaves that fold inward when touched, a self-protective response to harshness. And like the plant, you have a finely tuned sensitivity to energy. You pick up on mood shifts, body language, tone of voice, things most people don't even register. If someone is upset, you'll feel it even if they don't say a word. This makes you incredibly emotionally intelligent, but also emotionally porous. You absorb energies like a sponge, which is why certain environments, chaotic, aggressive, or emotionally cold, can feel not just uncomfortable, but toxic. Your emotional reactivity isn't weakness, it's a sign of depth. You don't float on the surface of life, you dive into it, heart first. That's why your moods can swing so easily. A beautiful song can lift you for hours, while a passing insult can sink you for days. But these emotional waves are also where your magic lives. They give you creative range, spiritual empathy, and a nuanced perspective on the human experience that most people never reach. Creativity is a lifeline for you. Whether it's art, writing, music, cooking, dance, or simple daydreaming, you need outlets that allow you to translate your emotional world into something tangible. You don't just express, you alchemize. The pain becomes poetry. The joy becomes melody, the confusion becomes color. This emotional to creative translation process isn't a hobby for you, it's how you survive in a world that often feels too sharp, too loud, or too fast. People are drawn to your softness, your kindness, your gentleness. You're the kind of person others feel safe around. You don't judge harshly, you listen with your whole body. You remember people's birthdays, their fears, their childhood stories. And yet, because of your gentle energy, people often make the mistake of thinking you're fragile or easily swayed. They see the mimosa and think delicate. What they miss is that you've survived storms they couldn't even name, with grace, humility, and an intact heart. Your strength isn't in your ability to push back, it's in your capacity to stay soft in a world that hardens most. You don't yell, you don't demand, but when something matters to you, your quiet conviction becomes immovable. Like the mimosa thriving in poor soil, dry heat, or unpredictable weather, you adapt, you persist, and you bloom, quietly but undeniably. Relationships for you must honor your sensitivity. You need emotional safety to open fully. If someone criticizes too harshly, ignores your feelings, or mocks your need for tenderness, your petals will fold. Not out of weakness, but out of self-protection. However, when you are loved with patience, kindness, and emotional curiosity, you bloom in breathtaking ways. Your love becomes nourishing, generous, and deeply intuitive, like sunlight for the soul. To walk through life as a mimosa is to carry a kind of hidden beauty, not the kind that demands the spotlight, but the kind that stays with people long after they've left your presence. Your presence feels like something. It leaves an emotional fingerprint. You remind others that vulnerability is not the opposite of strength, it's its purest form. And that to be soft in a world of armor is an act of quiet, radical power. Stone horoscope, amethyst. Your birthstone, the amethyst, is not just a gemstone, it's a spiritual ally, a mirror for your inner world, and a talisman for balance in times of emotional overwhelm. It carries within it the energies of intuition, clarity, and divine protection, aligning perfectly with the complexity and sensitivity of someone born on February 27th. If the mimosa is your floral mirror, then amethyst is your crystalline compass, always pointing you inward, toward your soul's truth. Amethyst has long been associated with mysticism. In ancient cultures, it was believed to calm the mind, ward off drunkenness literally and metaphorically, and connect the wearer to higher realms of consciousness. And for someone like you, someone already attuned to subtle emotional frequencies, this stone acts as both amplifier and anchor. It strengthens what's already true in you, your intuition, your emotional sensitivity, your natural pull toward the spiritual. But it also grounds you, reminding you to come back into your body, into the moment, when your inner world becomes too vast or chaotic. Wearing amethyst, meditating with it, or simply keeping it in your personal space can create a sort of emotional perimeter. It softens the psychic noise. It filters out what doesn't belong to you, the moods you pick up from others, the anxiety that leaks in from your environment, the confusion that clouds your decisions. Amethyst helps you discern what's mine and what isn't. That clarity is crucial for someone like you, who often blurs boundaries not out of ignorance, but out of compassion. This stone also brings emotional equilibrium. It doesn't numb you, it balances you. When you're riding emotional highs, it keeps you steady. When you're in the depths, it offers a gentle lift. It reminds you that feelings are waves, not destinations. That pain, no matter how heavy, is temporary. That peace is not the absence of emotion, but the calm center within it. Spiritually, amethyst enhances your connection to the divine, whatever that means for you. Maybe it's God, maybe it's the universe, maybe it's your own inner knowing. Regardless, this stone sharpens your insight. It deepens meditation. It brings vivid dreams, quiet epiphanies, and an ease of access to that intuitive voice you sometimes second-guess. With amethyst nearby, your intuition becomes clearer, more grounded, not a whisper lost in doubt, but a truth you can trust. It's also a protective stone, not in a dramatic, shield you from evil kind of way, but in a gentle boundary reinforcement way. It protects your emotional energy, reminding you that it's okay to say no, to rest, to preserve your inner world. You don't have to be open all the time. You don't have to carry everything. You are allowed to guard your peace, and amethyst helps you do just that, not through force, but through sacred intention. Aesthetically, amethyst is stunning, regal in its violet glow, otherworldly in its translucence. But beyond its beauty lies its purpose: to support, to steady, and to clarify. Keep it close when you're overwhelmed. Sleep with it under your pillow when your dreams feel tangled. Meditate with it when your thoughts won't quiet. Let it remind you that your sensitivity is not your weakness, it's your compass. And with the right tools, like amethyst, you can navigate the wild terrain of emotion and intuition not just with grace, but with grounded, luminous strength. To wear amethyst as a February 27th soul is to walk through the world with a quiet kind of armor, not made of steel, but of spirit. It doesn't protect you from feeling. It protects your right to feel, safely, clearly, and with all the wisdom your soul already carries. Vedic Astrology, Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra. In Vedic astrology, your birth under the Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, which most February 27th individuals fall into, isn't just a celestial marker. It's a cosmic assignment. Purva Bhadrapada is one of the most spiritually charged and transformative nakshatras in Jyotish astrology. Ruled by Jupiter, the planet of higher knowledge, truth, and expansion, this nakshatra is symbolized by the two front legs of a funeral cot, a haunting yet deeply symbolic image. It doesn't imply doom, far from it. Instead, it points to transition, initiation, and awakening. Your life is a bridge between what is dying and what is yet to be born, spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically. People born under this nakshatra often have an undeniable aura of mystery. Others may not be able to put their finger on it, but there's something about you that feels ancient, knowing, and not entirely from this world. You may feel different from those around you from a young age, not in a way that isolates you, but in a way that sets you apart. You ask different questions, you seek different answers. While others are chasing applause, you're chasing truth. While others want to fit in, you want to understand. And that's exactly what this nakshatra is about, the inner fire to seek knowledge that's hidden from the surface of life. There's a natural duality to your existence. You're living in the physical world, attending to everyday responsibilities, talking about weather and grocery lists, but inside, your soul is dancing between realms. You think in metaphors, you dream in symbols, you feel things deeply that you haven't learned to articulate yet. This dual-natured nakshatra makes you both spiritual and skeptical, rational and intuitive. You can sit in silence for hours contemplating the meaning of life, then walk into a business meeting and speak with grounded clarity. You're not one thing, you're a convergence of opposites. And you're here to learn how to navigate that space with wisdom. Transformation is the theme that threads your life together. You are not the same person at 30 that you were at 20, and you won't be the same at 50. Each chapter of your life may feel like a death and rebirth process, shedding identities, relationships, worldviews, sometimes painfully, sometimes gracefully, but always necessarily. You're here to evolve, and often the universe will give you the kind of experiences that force growth whether you ask for it or not. Loss, revelations, spiritual awakenings, these aren't random for you. They're catalysts, nudging you toward your higher path. Purva Bhadrapada is also known as the mystic's star. You may be drawn to philosophy, astrology, mythology, meditation, tantra, or esoteric sciences without even knowing why. You're not just interested in these topics, you feel them. There's an inner recognition when you read spiritual texts, a sense that you're not learning something new, but remembering something ancient. You may also be gifted in these realms. You intuitively understand archetypes, patterns, and subtle energies in a way that others find uncanny. Whether or not you call yourself a mystic, you're living as one. But the shadow side of this nakshatra is real, and it's worth understanding. Because you see beneath the surface of things, you may struggle with cynicism, existential sadness, or periods of emotional withdrawal. There's a heaviness that comes with carrying so much spiritual sensitivity. You may isolate, become overly skeptical, or fall into apathy when the world feels too false or too loud. Balance is crucial. You need grounding, people, rituals, environments that help you stay connected to the earth while you explore the stars. Your dharma, or spiritual path, is to illuminate. Whether you do that through writing, teaching, healing, creating, or simply living authentically, you are here to bring light to shadow. You are not meant to escape the world, you are meant to transform it from within, by embodying a truth that's bigger than your circumstances. You may not always know exactly what your mission is, but you will feel it, like a quiet hum beneath your everyday life, reminding you there's more, always more. So if you've ever felt like your life moves in waves of intensity, deep questions, emotional awakenings, sudden endings, mystical encounters, know this: it's not random. You are walking the path of the Purva Bhadrapada. It is not always easy, but it is sacred. And the more you surrender to your own inner unfolding, the more you will find that everything, even the painful parts, has been designed to awaken your soul. Compatibility. Soul matches karmic ties. When it comes to love and partnership, you don't just seek companionship, you seek recognition. Not in the egoic sense, but in the soul sense. You want to look into someone's eyes and feel a remembering, a sense that you've known them before, even if you just met. Love, for you, is not light. It's heavy with meaning, charged with past life echoes, and brimming with unspoken emotional language. That's why your relationships are rarely casual, and why you're often drawn to connections that feel fated, magnetic, and utterly consuming. You fall in love with intensity. There's rarely a neutral entry point. You're either in or you're not, and once you're in, you give everything. Emotionally, spiritually, energetically, you become attuned to your partner's inner world as if it's your own. Their joy becomes your joy. Their pain becomes something you feel in your bones. This depth of connection is beautiful, but it can also be overwhelming. You may blur boundaries, lose yourself in someone else's healing, or stay too long trying to save a relationship that's outlived its purpose. That's the karmic risk of your kind of love. Your most compatible signs tend to be those who match your emotional depth and spiritual seriousness. Scorpio is a natural match, intense, private, and fiercely loyal. Together, you form a union that feels electric and fated. There's mutual understanding without words, a psychic bond that can't be broken. Cancer is another beautiful fit. Their nurturing energy helps you feel emotionally safe, and your intuition harmonizes like water flowing together. There's softness, shared silence, and a home-like warmth in the connection. Taurus offers the grounding you often need. While you swim in metaphysical waters, Taurus holds the earth beneath your feet. They're sensual, loyal, and emotionally steady, qualities that help you relax and trust. Capricorn, though outwardly serious, holds a well of emotion beneath their composed surface. When they open to you, it's deep and real. They help stabilize your emotional tides and offer long-term loyalty that feels like a spiritual promise. Virgo, though often overlooked, can surprise you. Their logic and care bring structure to your dreams, while your imagination brings depth to their order. Together, you can create a quietly powerful love. But there are also signs that may challenge you, not because they're wrong, but because they operate on frequencies that can feel misaligned. Gemini may be intellectually exciting, but emotionally inconsistent. Their changeability can leave you feeling emotionally unsafe or unseen. Sagittarius, while full of spirit and fire, may feel too detached or self-focused. Their need for freedom can clash with your need for emotional intimacy and commitment. Aquarius can be mentally magnetic but emotionally distant. You may connect on ideas, but find yourself yearning for more heart, more touch, more presence. It's also worth noting that your karmic connections often arrive through chaos. These are the loves that change you, sometimes through heartbreak, sometimes through healing. These relationships are not meant to last forever, but they leave marks on your soul. They awaken you, strip you, rebuild you. You'll always remember them, even if they're not part of your future. The key to fulfilling love for you is emotional honesty. You need a partner who isn't afraid of depth, someone who wants to explore the layers with you, not escape them. Someone who can handle your intensity without shrinking. Someone who meets your vulnerability not with fear, but with presence. Your love is not for the faint of heart, but for those who can hold it. It's utterly transformative. And remember, not every soul match is smooth. Sometimes the most profound connections come wrapped in difficulty. That's okay. You're not here for easy. You're here for real. And when you find someone who meets you on that level, whose eyes reflect not just the now, but the always, you'll know. It won't feel like falling in love. It'll feel like coming home. Final thoughts. If you were born on February 27th, you carry within you a kind of quiet magic, the kind that doesn't scream for attention, but leaves echoes in every room you pass through. You're not loud in your brilliance, but it's there, woven into your compassion, your creative vision, your emotional intelligence, and your deeply intuitive sense of what matters. You weren't made to conform. You weren't made to chase trends or blend in. You were born to feel deeply, to create from the soul, and to offer something to this world that it didn't even know it was missing. There's something rare about the way you move through life. You sense things others miss. You know when someone's heart is breaking behind a smile. You can hear the emotion hiding inside someone's silence. Your emotional world is vast, like an ocean people underestimate until they try to swim in it. That depth is not a flaw. It's a gift, and the more you embrace it, the more powerful it becomes. You were not made for shallow water. You were born with gills for the deep. Creatively, you have the soul of an artist, whether you paint or not. Your creativity may show up in the way you decorate your space, the music you choose for a quiet drive, the stories you tell, the way you dress, or even how you solve problems. You see the world through a different lens, layered, poetic, emotionally textured, and that perspective is your superpower. You don't just see what is, you see what could be. And when you act on that vision, you create spaces, moments, and art that feels sacred. Spiritually, you are already awake, even if you don't use that word. You know there's more. You felt it since you were young. Maybe you looked at the stars and felt like they were calling you. Maybe you've always had a strange pull toward the metaphysical, the mysterious, the unexplainable. You don't need religion to feel connected to the divine. You live with that thread inside you, always pulsing just beneath the surface. Sometimes you ignore it, sometimes you doubt it, but it's always there, waiting for you to return to it. And yet, with all your emotional depth, your insight, your creativity, you still forget your own power. You second-guess your intuition. You quiet your voice to keep the peace. You carry the emotional weight of others while minimizing your own. But hear this: your light is not meant to be dimmed. Your softness is not weakness. Your sensitivity is not a liability. Your dreams are not too much. You are not too emotional or too intense. You are exactly as you should be. And this world needs more of what you are, not less. But here's the truth: your gifts only become powerful when you believe in them. Not halfway, not when others validate them, not when it's convenient. You have to trust yourself. Trust your voice, trust your gut, and yes, you must protect yourself. Because your heart is wide open by default, and that makes you vulnerable. But boundaries are not walls, they're sacred containers for your magic. And when you honor yourself with clarity and care, you become unstoppable in the gentlest way possible. Your path isn't meant to look like anyone else's. You're not here to climb the conventional ladders or check the expected boxes. You're here to weave light into dark spaces, to write songs no one else could write, to speak truths no one else can see, to love people in a way that reminds them who they are. That's your power, that's your mission, and even on the days when you feel lost, disconnected, or invisible, you're still doing it. Your very presence is medicine. So if you've been wondering why the world feels overwhelming, why you sometimes feel like you don't belong, or why your heart feels like it's made of glass and lightning at the same time, it's because you are different. You were meant to feel more, love deeper, dream harder. But you are not alone. Others like you walk this world, quietly healing it just by being themselves. You're part of that tribe. And the moment you stop hiding is the moment your real life begins. Because February 27th isn't just a date on a calendar. It's a cosmic signature, a soul assignment, a quiet contract between you and the universe that says, I will not be ordinary. I will be honest. I will be light. So trust the path, even when it's foggy. Trust your rhythm, even when others rush. Trust your intuition, even when your mind hesitates. And above all, trust that you're here for a reason, and that reason is unfolding in divine time. If this spoke to something deep inside you, it's because it was meant to. So take a deep breath, and remember who you are. You are not here to survive, you are here to awaken. Want to explore more about yourself? Drop a like, subscribe, and check out the other videos in the description. We've got deep dives into Zodiac compatibility, numerology, and more soul-aligned content created just for you. Because you're not here by accident, and neither is your story.